to another edition of Knicks Morning Coffee. I'm Mr. King, and that's my partner, Joe Cool. The season is over, but still, a lot of stuff goes on in the off season that pertains to the Knicks. That we have to keep our eye on. And one of the conversations I had with somebody this week was that the Nets lost, right? And then it just came down to a question for me in this conversation with somebody who really knows basketball, was that what did the best team lose? And he was saying, yeah, the Nets was the best team and they lost in the playoffs. But then, and I started thinking about it. I said, no, the best team didn't win or didn't because that means the Nets wasn't the best team. Because if you was the best team, then you'd have been able to overcome some of them injuries, because Kyrie was out, but you still had KD, who's considered the best player in the league by many. So, and you had half of James Harden. So if you was the best team, then you should, as a team, you should have been able to overcome having them guys out. And then his argument was, but you can't replace a guy like Kyrie. Mm. So that still makes you not the best team because y'all decided to put all your eggs in one basket and have three superstars. Mm. And if you didn't have faith in your players, then you should have just went with the two superstars and surround your team with better players. But the Nets had a good team. Mm. So, the argument wasn't going nowhere because it's just that, well, how are you going to win without your best players? And then it just brought me back to, for the older guys, the 1980 Magic Lakers, when really it was the Kareem Lakers. Mm. And when Kareem got hurt against Philly, and they said, well, they got to go to Game 6 without Kareem, it's definitely going to be a Game 7. So they go to Philadelphia, the Lakers, and Magic decides, you know what, our best player is out, but I'm not going to let us lose. Mm. And then Magic had the game of his life. So because they was a good team, they was able to succumb that. So that means the Nets, technically, then they wasn't the best team. If your only thing is injuries been a part of this game since forever. And every team that advanced is because the teams that was winning before them either got old or they got injured. Mm. Michael Jordan took over for the Pistons because Detroit got injured and they was getting older. Mm. Detroit took over for the Lakers because Magic and them got injured and was getting older. Same thing with the Celtics, same thing with all those teams beforehand. Mm. That's how the changing of the guard comes. So you got to surround your team with the type of players when you're trying to go with them all-stars in case of injury. Because there's just no way around it. So, and then, all this stuff just reminds me of, things with the Knicks. Randall had a bad game, but, where was the other players at? Mm. So then that just comes down to technically with the Hawks, we wasn't the better team. So hey, the argument it just never stops in the NBA. And, we just try to keep it all tied to the Knicks. The other thing I want to talk about today was, a lot of the coaches is taking the heat for their late game decisions, right? And we could say the same thing that happened with our coach. But as a coach, do you go against your star player at the end of games when you got a play that you can draw up to get you that bucket, right? Or to the foul line? Or do you just fear your job, leave it in your star player's hands, and just hope that he makes the shot, or makes the great play? And their life is coming down to it because if they make the right play and hit the shot, the player gets the credit. If the player misses the shot, now the coaches, their decision making now is coming into question. And then that happened, it would happen with Doc. It happened with Steve Nash. It happened with Utah, and it happened with Denver. All of our top seeds went out the same way because it was questionable and it was a couple other teams, how the coaches, how they managed that last minute or last 20 seconds of the game. And I'm pretty sure a lot of them got ideas of how they want to close out that game, but the star player got other ideas. If you go against the star player and they don't get their way, they're either going to threaten to leave or get you fired.
But yeah, I don't put that, I think that's like I'm not going to say 50-50. It's like it goes either way because like I said before, even with Randall, you can't make a player want to score. So KD as an example, even though they lost, but he turned around and scored 40-something. Like what Giannis said about him is what KD actually did. You're going to mess around and make KD mad, and he going to drop 50 on you. But you can't make a player want to do that.
Right. Well, his skill set allowed him to do that. But
Devin
see, this
Booker, Chris Paul, like you can't make somebody.
This is what cost them, though. This is where the problem with the coaches. This is what cost the Nets. This is what cost Dallas. Just because, and I'm using those two in particular. I'm using KD and Luka in particular, because y'all went out with phenomenal numbers, right? But you ain't have to. KD is thrilling as that was. That was an instant classic. But those tough shots that he took, you didn't have to take them. You didn't have. So now at the end of the game, and now they blame it on you ran out of gas. So in that last second, you ran out of gas for that last second heave that you have been doing the whole quarter. When you ain't have to, when you could have been moving that ball or setting up your opponent to be able to pass it to the open man. But you decided to take all them tough shots. Yeah, you were hitting them, but you exhausted yourself. And it was the same thing with Luka. You exhausted yourself. Yeah, they went in, they looked good. But all those hard turnarounds, you ain't promised them kind of turnaround shots.
Well, I remember.
And those is heaves.
Yeah, I remember we had this conversation years ago about, the discipline of the star players. And I said, I actually think the NBA would be better if the coaches can coach as if they was coaching a college team. Like, they can actually coach their team. I feel like the NBA would be better. Because now, yeah, you're the superstar. You get the ball majority of the time, but then they don't got to get the ball every play.
Well, that's the world we live in now.
Because in college ball, remember, it's 5 players. At least 4 of them are doing work. You know what I mean? Like, when you think of these players that get drafted, out of 5, at least 4 is like doing what they're supposed to do. So you can name one person for shooting good, but you're going to name all 5 of them.
Yeah, but the NBA created this mess. They created this mess during the Michael Jordan era, when they stopped promoting teams and started promoting individuals. So when players are making all this money and they getting all these endorsements trying to build their brand, that's what their agent now. It used to be you go to your agent and you say, I want all these endorsements. Well, now, because the agent want their 10%, the agents are coming to you with a host of endorsements. And they telling you the only way to get this is to shine. Forget about the guy next to you. Shine so I can get my 10%. And yeah, did it kind of ruin the league? Yeah, highlight players that kids, been known to grow up to admire. But as far as the game, I watched Stephen A. the other day, and he blamed Joe Harris. He didn't blame KD for the wild turnaround shot. He blamed Joe Harris for not, being able to deliver. Here you got the role player, and now I'm to blame. All of a sudden, because I didn't have the greatest shooting night. When KD was taking all them hard, tough shots, when I'm wide open, and the other guys are wide open.
I mean, we should do a show on, like, stuff like that, because, like, to really dive into that, remember, all these players is, like, 17, 18. These players don't know no better. You know what I mean? Like, when you're younger, like, yeah, seize the moment, but it's everybody to blame.
Well, the coaches get the blame because they're at the helm. But how do you tell your star players stop shooting so much? Now, there was something last night. Ty Lue was telling the Clippers at halftime, stop with all the dribbling, because they showed it. Stop with all the dribbling. And if you don't got it and you can't get by your man, just move it on to the next one. But even that, you're trying to plead with your star player, in this case it would have been Paul George, to move the ball. Instead of just point him out and tell him. Well, but don't wait till the game to have to tell him. Try to coach your team from the beginning and get them guys in sync. So when somebody do break down, everybody knows your plan B and C when the star player don't have it going. Because let's look at Trey. Trey's scoring 30-something points in these playoffs, but he's having bad 3-point shooting nights. But at the end, he's getting those 3-pointers in bunches. He's getting those 2 and 3. He went 3 for 16 in threes the other night. But he still had a great shooting night, scoring night, rather. Because now they done psyched out Milwaukee like they did the rest of the, the rest of the league, and that goes back again. Everything with the Hawks to me, revert back to the Knicks. Because we felt that we could have beat them other teams.
I mean, but back to the coaching. Listen, what can a coach do? He sat Randall down. Nobody can still do anything. What are you gonna do? Like a coach can't make you score. Like I said, like either way, you're gonna look good when the team do good. Look at D'Antoni, his theory on how to coach. Makes sense. Yeah, the person that puts up the most shots should win the game. But they're all not shooting good.
Well,
so you play that run and gun style, but you couldn't do it. Who he had? Harden. Was Westbrook there or something like that?
Well,
it was like Harden, Melo, and somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it.
So well, I mean, he also ruined when the Knicks so-called had the best front line in basketball. You know, with Melo Murray and Tyson Chandler. And yet you're a guard-oriented coach, and nobody never really was talking about D'Antoni messing up that team. They're saying Melo messed up that team, but if you got the front line, you got a premier front line in the NBA at that time. And all you worrying about is your guards getting up that 6 seconds, 8 seconds, whatever or less. You're not even worrying about taking advantage of what you got in front of you. You know, you left it up to the players, and the coaches end up ultimately with the blame. You end up with the blame.
That's what I said. He get that blame.
Yeah. All right,
like
so
you're supposed to figure out how to incorporate what Omari's doing.
I mean, I'm sure they want to, but you can't because the players hold the power.
Yeah, the players hold the power, but let's bring it back to Melo real quick. When he went over to Houston, he said, "I'm doing what they wanted me to do."
Yeah.
So that's what I said. Like, who really is the blame? Because now, if you sitting in that office, you sitting in that locker room, and they telling you they want you to be the role player, or they want you to take up all these shots, or just get it right here and fit in right here, they ain't coaching. They just
first Melo went to Houston with no power. You know, he had no leverage, or OKC. Because he wasn't a star player like that anymore. Second, that was just payback. That was payback for D'Antoni and Mike Bizdug. I can't really pronounce his last name. From when he coached Melo in Denver, and Melo had pretty much gotten both of them fired in previous stops. So people don't forget. So remember last year when we first started doing this, we did a whole show on why Melo was blackballed, And actually, I think that was a pretty good one you can go back and look at. It was in our earlier time. But it just goes to show that these coaching trees, their fraternity, it goes deep. So Melo had no say in that. You know, payback time came, and they got you. You know, so, and then you end up being blackballed. But again, the star players run the league, but the star players are also the ones that have cost their teams, in particular this year, because those teams that got bounced were the top 4 teams in the league. You know, give or take Phoenix still in it. So, and then they all got bounced because their star players just couldn't stop doing what they was doing. You know, if you don't got it, it's a team game. Move that ball. Get everybody going. So when it comes down to the end and you're not hot, the other guy is comfortable doing what he do. Yeah. And that just didn't materialize in this playoffs. And this was a good playoffs. You know, this was an exciting playoffs.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Yeah. Okay, now pertaining to the Knicks, my question is this. Is the offseason a failure if we don't land a star player? Like, if we don't get the big fish, is the offseason a failure? My answer is no, it's not. Because though we want a star player is not necessarily what we need to advance. You know, I saw something with Reggie Miller yesterday saying the Knicks are a star player away from being a contender. Well, that's
a contender.
Right, and that's right. We was in 4th place, but that's just not true. We were a couple of great, I ain't gonna say great players. We were a couple of good shooters away from being a contender.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, if we don't get upgrades at certain positions or any position, then it's a failing offseason.
Yeah.
So if we don't get that, if we don't get an offensive-minded coach, maybe it's a failure. Like,
offensive coordinator
or something like that. But if we don't get that, then I can see us being a failure for next year. If we go in the same or worse because we can't re-sign somebody, then...
Well, that's where the brain trust come in to me, because Leon Rose and World Wide West y'all have the ability to communicate with them other teams and the relationships with the other players. So you take y'all's ability, and then you pair that with Scott Perry's ability to be able to close the deal, because y'all still learning that part of the NBA, and get these things done. Because I would like to see a star player, because you have a star player, then it doesn't matter if Randall is off, because the other star player can pick it up, while a Reggie Bullock finds his stroke, while Emmanuel quickly get back into rhythm. The other star player could carry you for 2 or 3 minutes. And then maybe Randall get to shake out of it because the pressure is not on you as much. But the role players around you, they still get to grow. But, the other parts for me is that, because what we need, in the starting lineup, to me, if we don't get the star player, we need a bona fide scorer, a guy that could just flat out get buckets in that starting lineup, and that's going to have to probably come somewhere between the 2 and the 3. And then off the bench, given our current roster, now we need a real true sniper, a three-pointer that can just come in and any given time he can knock down shots consistently. Because what killed us, it wasn't the role of the star player in this series that Randall hurt us a lot, but because the other guys too couldn't knock down routine shots because they were thrown off by Randall's inability to even try to get to the basket or look for a good shot. But they were thrown off on routine shots that they could hit. Like if you're wide open, you have to be able to knock down a wide open, uncontested shot. Even if the guy is coming at you. Those are routine things that keep you in games. Leave the big shots to the star players, which we wasn't getting out of Randall. But the routine shots that keep you afloat, we wasn't knocking, Quickly wasn't knocking them down the same. Bullock, we definitely wasn't knocking them down the same. The stuff that Barrett was doing towards the end, the hero ball at the end was helping, but it wasn't enough in the game to sustain us. And then Burke was just, Burke and Rose was pretty much just a one-man show, because they wasn't really creating at that point. They couldn't. They was trying to find ways to get buckets.
Yeah, only thing a star's going to do for us next year, if we get a star, like a bona fide star, is we're going to see who do we really love out of everybody else. We get a better star. Now you're going to look at RJ Barrett a little different. We get a bona fide star, you're going to look at Quickly a little different.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's the thing that people got to understand. Like, if we do get that superstar, say he even come in free agency, say we get Kawhi, and we do play better, how much do you really love Randall now? You know what I mean? So it's gonna be that's gonna be the question. Now, if we don't get a star, it's gonna hurt to lose them plays. That's the only thing.
Well, So this right, because this is what brings me to.
You can mess around and get Zion, and he don't really do nothing.
I mean,
he might need the point guard to throw in the alleys like a Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
Because me and my boys were talking about that last night. I said, really, to me, he just looks like a new age Blake Griffin. They said, nah, he been playing kind of point forward. I haven't been watching.
Well, Blake Griffin did that too in his early years.
But that could be their downfall. It's because they got him, Ingram, Ball. They all need the ball in their hand. They all really kind of got to bring the ball up. And that's probably what the issue is.
But they also need a system. They had enough players. And I think that coach too, the Van Gundy, I don't think he probably could implement his real, now he's gone. He probably couldn't really put his real system that he wanted in. Because you want to try to take an old East Coast style and put it into a new wave, young West Coast type of offense. And they just don't mesh. You know what I mean? That type of stuff don't. But now this is another thing I was thinking about. Now it's pertaining to the Knicks. So, like for me now, our game is not even over. Like we added the playoffs, but now our biggest game now is the draft versus free agency. So which direction do we go in? Because this decision that they have to make is huge. And you can only make it when they honestly, because we don't really know. I think they should move forward from building on that 4th seed, because you're not that far from the rest of the league. So now you have these draft picks in front of you. You got 2 in the first round, and then you got 2 in the second round, and then the
Can
one.
I take this?
Huh?
Can I take this?
Go ahead.
I know what to do.
Go ahead.
You draft whoever drafted quickly. Let them draft the best players they can get, and either use them, like say if they are shooters, use them or use them as trade now. Because now you ain't got to touch your regular team. You can leverage those picks. So either leverage the picks for a player, or leverage the actual pick that you made for a player. Now, if they end up being shooters, now it's a win-win. Let's see if we can add them into shooting. What happens if you lose Burks or you lose what's the other shooter we got? At least you got some. Yeah, at least you got some young shooters. And then say if a star does come, or say if a Kawhi does come, we don't lose nothing. Now you got a whole bunch of trade options. Because now when Kawhi get here, like I said, we'll be able to see even in preseason, like, all right, yeah, RJ Barrett just ain't gonna do it for us.
Yeah, but you can't. You can't. Yeah, but you can't gamble that way. To me,
I'm talking about. You don't think so?
No, because you get the star. Now, first, what you said, Worldwide West threw his name out in a meeting. He wasn't on their radar. So in a meeting, supposedly, West said, lobby for him. They said he screamed as the draft was going on, seen that Quickly was still on the board, and screamed for him. And then they took him, and then now you get credibility.
I thought he was on the paper already.
Yeah, you get credibility. Now I'm pretty sure a lot of names are on there, but they're not. Probably so far down the list because remember, Quickly supposed to go in the second round. But now the thing too, even if you get a star player, you can for a star because you still need 2 anyway. Then to me, nobody on our team is untouchable for a real star player. But because you need 2 stars, if you don't have a second one in the making coming. But I wouldn't risk, and I'll take Kawhi in a heartbeat. But I'm not gonna risk a lot of the other guys just for Kawhi if I don't got nothing else coming.
Oh no, but yeah, what I'm saying is, say I only use Kawhi because it's fresh on my mind. Like if a free agent said, no, I'm just going to the Knicks. They got the money, so now you really don't lose no money because you got the 1 star. Everybody we 1 star away. But then you also got the capital, basically, like the team. So now who plays the best with this guy, with our coach? You see his coaching is A1, so I'm not really stressed out about his coaching. Our defense goes up. Our shooting may go up because we got some young shooters. Say if we did draft young shooters, then we good. I mean, whoever did the draft last year, I trust it. I'm not.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, no.
I trust our offense right now. I'm not even.
Well, that's our consistency, and we can't be blind to say that we can't. That we don't need a pure shooter or 2. If you get a star player who can score, then now you just go find a shooter. But we have to have a more reliable, and I love Bullock, so I don't want to lose Bullock because what he brings, the intangibles he brings. And as much as I love Burt, I would sacrifice Burt if I had to, even in that salary range, to bring in another, because we need guys that could just knock it down. That's all they do. Burke is more, he's a role player, but he really played for us like a regular because he had the ball in his hands. But we have to have that sniper. And this all depends on bringing in another star player. Another star player and a sniper, or a guy that can just flat out get buckets. And honestly, I don't want the Knicks, don't let these players hold you hostage, and find a player, like you said, like a DeMar DeRozan. If he's available and other people are on the fence and you ain't making no moves, you got to snatch these people up.
Yeah.
You got to snatch them up because he's not the answer to your problems. He's a big piece to the puzzle because he's gonna find a way to get his points up. And then you got to go out and get a real shooter from behind that arc. Could just constantly knock it down.
And we need, like I said, we need those annoying players. Like when we had Morris, I'm looking at Patrick Beverly last night. I'm looking at these players. We need more of these hard-nosed, get-on-your-nerves players. We need at least one. Listen. I said that last year. Like, I think his name is Della Dover. He was on
Cleveland.
He was annoying, but you need one. You need somebody, like we had Mitchell Robinson. He was hurt. You need somebody that's not going to back down, that's going to get in your face, that might even put a finger in your face, put a knee in your chest. You need one.
Nah, they do. You need that grind. You need that. But
Morris, like he was not backing down.
Listen,
he's gonna go in the
guys
post, wrap his arm around you.
Yeah, guys like him could become available again, but are they willing to take a step backwards, Morris? Because you're not going to be the guy that we had when you were here before.
Yeah, but the fact that we know that he got it in him.
Yeah, well, ain't no doubt about that.
Because he remember he didn't start off playing like that way for the Knicks. We just needed him to do it. You know what I mean? He wanted the help. He wanted to be a Knicks.
Well, he knew he could manipulate his way. I think he knew from training camp, looking at that roster. Okay, yeah, I could. I know these guys. Okay, I could do this. So again, he played good for us, but you know, the Knicks have to really look at this draft versus free agency because they're supposed to go hand in hand. But we got to look at we on the fence and we got to go fall forward and not fall backwards. Because what's the purpose of it? And Atlanta is proving it. Now Atlanta don't got nothing to lose neither. So even though I'm praising them, at the same time, it's like what y'all got to. Y'all was the underdog in every series, so you can just go out there and flat out play. And then, you know, Trey wanting to be the villain. You're not a villain, Trey, because you don't even got that scowl that Reggie Miller had. People like you. People like what you're doing. You know, a villain is somebody that comes in and rips up your heart. You're not even really doing that. You know, you out there playing freelance basketball and you having the best time of your life doing it.
I mean,
so that
I ain't gonna lie, he's not a villain, but it's like so cocky. It's like, damn.
Yeah, but even that I know, but because you
did a little shoulder
right,
shrug,
but because you're planning, it's like you're planning it. You know, back when Reggie Miller was playing Chicago, and then he finally was going at Pippen and took a bow, and then when Pippen got him back the next game, that kind of stuff was real. It's like, Trey, it's nice what you're doing, it's entertaining, but it's like the other team don't oppose you. You know what I mean? Because you're hot, you're on fire, you're doing your thing. So, you know, nobody hates you. Sorry. But because you're trying to be the villain. You're out there laughing, having fun. A villain, somebody trying to cut your throat. You know, Reggie was trying to rip your heart out. And they would tell you and show you, you know. That,
we need like that again.
Yeah, now that will get your fire going.
Somebody go find Stacey Pat.
Yeah, but that'll get your fire going.
Y'all remember that from Eddie? Stacey Pat don't do that.
Yeah. I said, what we need for y'all to do is hit the like button. We need the likes. You know, we come out here every week. We try and just bring some news. We listen to other news as well, and then I make sure I reciprocate and I hit their like buttons. So hit our like button. Leave us a comment. Little things are going to be coming on. I don't want to dive too much into the draft. I mean, right now, because to me it's just too soon. Names are going to be revolving door. But this Buck Knight out of UConn is the guy right now they are targeting. He's a combo guard. You know, Quickly's a combo guard. So you can't rule things off the table. You know, but you have to seriously look at where we're going in the draft and where we're going in free agency. And if the two can work intertwine, fine. But if it doesn't move us forward, we got to go the route of the free agency. More important for me. So we'll dive more into the draft as we get closer, when names are more defined. Because there's just too many to just keep guessing. And then I'm just a big component on getting the right free agents in here. All right, so just
hit that like button.
Yeah. Remember to like, comment,
subscribe, comment, so we can start going live.
And enjoy our coffee a little bit better. Peace.